Welcome, students, to Writing Workshop for November 16th, 2020. You will be creating an argumentative, persuasive piece of writing over the next few lessons. I want to introduce you to an example of what this would look like and also discuss the parts of an argument with all of this entails. The materials you will need for today are your pencil, your reading journal, and a student copy of the text. The text is titled The Elephant's Keeper, and it is linked into the framework as well as Google Classroom for today. If you don't have these supplies, go ahead and collect them now and then come back to press play. All right, now that you're back, let's move on to our objectives. I will explain the parts of an argument or persuasive text. We will recognize the meaning of our focus statement and the components of an argument exemplar. You will recognize and explain how writers use information to persuade and the parts of an argument. You will be viewing an example of a persuasive writing piece today, as well as be reading a book or story soon about rescuing elephants in the country of Zambia on the continent of Africa. We will then write an editorial about an environmental topic that you feel strongly about. Think about anything that you may already know about elephants and their habitats in Africa, or the need to protect these animals. Do you think that people have different ideas about elephants and rescuing them? You may have answered yes. You're correct. Many people have different opinions and see things in different ways. Our focus statement is people see things in different ways. Think about the weather. I've never lived in a place where there was snow in the winter. So when I visit friends up north, I can watch it snow for hours. I think it's beautiful, but my friends hardly pay attention to it. To them, it's very ordinary. They see it every day. People may even have different opinions about issues in our community also. For example, when I was growing up, the people who owned factories in my town wanted to build a wide highway so that they would have an easier way to send their product to other towns. If they could sell more products, they could hire more people. The factory owners said that having more jobs would be good for the community. The farmers who owned the land that was needed for the highway did not want to sell their land. They were using it to grow crops for food. The farmers thought the highway was bad for the community. Why do these groups see the same idea in different ways? Think about that. Pause the video and jot down your thoughts in your writing journal. Why would these two groups see the same idea in different ways? All right, now that you're back, I hope you answered that question with your thoughts and ideas. Let's read that focus statement again. People see things in different ways. I want you to remember that focus statement. You can even write it down in your journal so that you won't forget it. All right, let's move on. As I mentioned before, we will be reading a persuasive piece of literature, viewing another example of an argument, and then writing an argumentative piece called an editorial. An editorial is an article that uses facts to support an opinion. An opinion is an idea or belief that cannot be proven. Here is an example of an editorial piece. I want you to follow along as I read. Every citizen should be responsible and recycle. The evidence is very clear. Plastic bottles and bags that are not recycled end up in oceans, rivers, and streams. Landfills collect mountains of garbage that could have been recycled back into other products. Some people say recycling doesn't really make that big of a difference, but that's not true. Every bottle or plastic bag that is recycled is one that isn't in the ocean or in a landfill. Clearly, choosing to recycle is what's best for our Earth. I want to ask you a few questions now that we've read over that exemplar. That's an example of exactly the type of editorial that you would be writing whenever you're asked to write this persuasive piece or an editorial. Okay. The writer is writing to persuade citizens or persuade people or the readers to do something. Well, what's the issue? What is the problem that's being faced? Clearly, the problem is the mountains of garbage and landfills, and the fact that people aren't recycling properly in order to help the earth. What is the author's position or claim? Well, we can tell by reading the text that the author is for recycling and wants people to recycle. The author even states that every citizen should be responsible and recycle. How does the author support this position? Well, the author supports this position by stating things like plastic bottles and bags that are not recycled end up in oceans, rivers, and streams. Okay? This can be proven. This is a fact. The author also states things like landfills collect mountains of garbage that could have been recycled back into other products. The writer stated their position and claim, and then they supported their position with evidence. How does the author how does this editorial change how I feel? Well, as a reader, this editorial would encourage me to want to recycle and be more aware of the environment and my impact on it. Whenever you as a writer should write a piece about or an editorial in order to persuade, you want to make sure that you're stating your issue or your position or claim. Also, including evidence, facts, or opinions to support your position. You want to think about your audience and think about how you're trying to persuade them to think. Let's review the parts of an argument. The parts of an argument are your claim. This is your main argument. This is what you are going to make a claim, and this is your main argument during your editorial and your writing piece. Your evidence. This is another big part of an argumentative or persuasive piece. These are examples and ideas supporting the claim. This is what you will use to support your main argument and persuade your reader. Your counterclaim. This is the argument against the claim. This is what someone else might think that opposes your ideas. A rebuttal. Rebuttal are reasons why the counterclaim is wrong. So what you as a writer would do is you would state your claim. You would back it up with evidence. You might even state your counterclaim in order to create that rebuttal. You would say reasons why your counterclaim or the opposition to your ideas are wrong. And then you would have a conclusion. Conclusions restate the claim and make a call to action. This is where you're going to make that call to your reader to ask them to take up the torch and follow in your footsteps and feel a certain way about your argument and want to do these things. In this case, in our argument exemplar, the writer stated the claim, okay? Their claim was that every citizen should be responsible and recycle, okay? They even stated this evidence is very clear. And they listed evidence. The writer listed evidence to support their claim. Then the author wrote their counterclaim. The counterclaim is that some people say recycling doesn't really make that big of a difference. And then the author writes the rebuttal. The rebuttal is, but that's not true. Every bottle or plastic bag that is recycled is one that isn't in the ocean or landfill. That was the rebuttal, the reason why the counterclaim is wrong. Then the writer moved on and they wrote the conclusion. Clearly, choosing to recycle is what's best for our earth. This is a good example of an argument. You can use this in the future to help you write your own. You can always add more information. So editorials are a form of writing called an argument. In this context, an argument is not a fight. It is a form of writing that attempts to convince readers. You may be wondering, what's the difference between a news article and an editorial? Well, the difference is that news articles are meant to inform, but editorials are meant to change the way people think. As you are learning to write your editorial, you need to think about that. You need to realize that your editorial is going to be meant to try to convince your reader to change the way they're thinking about a topic. Take some time now to copy down the parts of an argument anchor chart into your writing journal. You will use it as a reference later. Pause now to do this. All right, now that you're back and you've copied down this anchor chart, let's move on. This week we are reading The Elephant Keeper. Look at the subtitle, Caring for Orphaned Elephants in Zambia. Books have subtitles to tell us more about what the book is about and to make readers more interested in the book. This book is a persuasive text that gives detailed information about a topic. Take some time now to flip through some of the pages. Notice the chapters, heading, and illustrations, and the words in italics. Why might the author have included these text features? The author used these text features to help the readers better understand the text, know what each section is about, and to show the important work of the elephant orphanage. I wonder what the author's point of view is. And I can infer this information by looking at all of these clues before reading. I look at the titles, I look at the text features, and I can infer what this book may be about. I can even look at the illustrations and the pictures in order to do this. Notice how each chapter ends with 2 pages of short factual articles about elephants. How might these articles support the writer's argument? Well, knowing this and recognizing this within the example text might help you write your editorial later. Now it's your turn. Read the first 10 pages of The Elephant Keeper. While you're reading, recognize the information from a writer's perspective. Remember, this is an example of a persuasive text. Then you're going to complete the Elephant Keeper Google form and turn it into your teacher through Google Classroom. Thank you and have a great day.